The opinions voiced in this podcast are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which strategies or investments may be suitable for you, consult the appropriate qualified professional prior to making a decision.
Welcome to How to Money with Kole and Kole.
I'm Kole.
And I'm Kole.
We coach people every day on their money and how to plan for the future.
As financial advisors, we're here to have an honest conversation on investing, retirement, and everything in between.
At Full Swing Financial Planning, we're here to empower you to take control of your plan, your way, for your financial future.
So let's talk money.
And sports.
Welcome back to How to Money with Kole and Kole. I am your host, Baileigh Ashbrook, and got both Koles here today.
Here with the whole crew.
Kind of feels like a Friday because we're taking off after this, hitting the air. What would you call that?
Hitting the road. We're going for business.
Yep.
To
once,
Philadelphia.
right? Yeah.
For a couple of days. Going to some conferences. So yeah, we're feeling pretty good. I got my relaxed Cubs gear on today because we're heading to the airport after this.
Our travel fits. Yep.
The boys like to make fun of me because they know I hate flying and traveling. And
it's kind of rainy, crappy out today. So,
but no one gives them crap about their big fear of spiders when Kole had to save Kole out of her Mexico
terrible fear
trip.
of
Let's be specific on this. Cole Peterson had to save Cole Jaskey because Cole Jaskey is scared to death of spiders.
We were next door to each other. I'll just give just a short story on this. Next door at our resort, and
I literally,
spider. Chelsea and I were sitting out on like the patio that goes into like a pool, and I see, no, it was a big spider, like not a little spider.
The size of a quarter.
So I'm like, whoo. And I call Kole. I'm like, he's got to be up. It's early. He comes,
Dad,
he comes waddling over in his short Jordan shorts and glasses and just starts to. He was gonna grab the spider with his fingers. I'm like, what's wrong with you?
I'm like, just get rid of it.
Yeah, but needless to say, he took care of it for us. So thanks, Kole.
You're scared of spiders. Now that's how I feel about flying. Same with you and sharks, Mister. I won't go too far in the ocean.
I just don't know why you would go swim with something that can kill you. I don't get it.
Anyways, just had to put that out there. So, Cole Jaskey, your son, first place at a baseball tournament.
Yeah.
And you're coaching.
8U Legends baseball won the Grimes Turf Wars this weekend, so it was fun. The weather was warm, but it was like overcast because of the smoke, or the wildfire smoke. But it was fun weekend.
We were talking about at work. It is crazy, and obviously, How to Money with Kole and Kole. We talk about money. How much money is in youth sports? Like the industry itself, like the complexes, the gear, the everything.
It's single-handedly
like world.
I think changed Grimes.
Yeah.
With their Grimesplex and like all the industry just right around, retail stuff right around that Grimesplex. And it's like every weekend we seem to be there every weekend. And it's like the parking lot's full, hundreds of cars, hundreds of people, grandparents coming in, and
it's wild.
Half the town of Fort Dodge has to come, comes because we got our Legends program up here. Yeah. Bringing all different age groups, but it's amazing.
It'll be interesting. Maybe we'll just do a topic on that someday.
Yeah,
the money and
the complexes are wild.
I know. I literally was like, we didn't play on stuff like this.
No,
when we were young.
We played in Norwalk. I don't remember a complex like this. Now every town in Des Moines has one. So we played in Norwalk last weekend, and there were 8 fields.
We had a tournament in Waverly, Iowa. 5 brand new turf, it was crazy, brand new complex playground. I'm like, geez, people are putting money into this. Obviously, money's returning back, but very interesting.
It's wild. Wild times we live in with the youth sports.
It's a $1 billion industry.
I was listening to a podcast the other day, and it was 2 professional women athletes who are now out of sports, and they were talking about the differences. And they said they were talking about the money. Not that youth sports aren't great, but they were just talking about like basically bracing yourself of like some parents are getting a little too wrapped up into it, and they don't realize it's also they're getting fed that because it's a money thing.
Well, I think it's youth baseball is just $1 billion industry.
No, they were talking about soccer, basketball. I mean,
I was at a hotel. Okay. I ran into someone I knew at the hotel that we stayed at, and they were there for a travel basketball tournament.
Softball, there's a bunch.
It's wild.
Travel basketball in June.
Yeah,
it's wild.
Yeah. So, anyways, how the Cubs doing? Looking good. You got your Cub gear on, so they must be doing pretty good.
Well, I wore my Cub gear
Cubs,
regardless.
go.
Yeah, you and Molly do.
They have the second best record in all of baseball, guys. They are first place in their division by 4 games. Not having any trouble selling my tickets.
Got some glow over there. Got some glow over there.
The crazy thing is they're down their 2 best pitchers, which everyone knows in baseball, even at the 8-year-old level, up all the way through the majors, pitching matters big time, right? 2 best pitchers have been down almost the whole season. Steele the whole season. Shota Imanaga has been out for like the last month. They just bring guys up from AAA and they pitch well. So their farm system's really good, and that's what you got to have to make it through a major league season. Obviously, it's a long season, it's 162 games. You got to have a good farm system to bring up some guys when you need them. People are going to get hurt, so.
You seem giddy about it. I'm very happy for you. I know it's a big part of your.
I've had those season tickets since 2022. They've not made the playoffs since 2021, I believe. 2020 maybe.
Bearing anything catastrophic.
Yeah.
It should be at least have a playoff game.
Yeah, I don't want to jinx them.
Yeah, let's just keep high vibes.
As Cub fans, we always worry about that, but yeah, I think this is a year they will make the playoffs. I don't know if they have the horses to win the World Series, but they'll be right there.
Says the horses.
At least they're in the conversation, right?
Yeah,
they are.
And you know what is also in full force? Baseball, softball. If you do not watch the College World Series softball, you are missing out on some primetime sports. I'm telling you, it is.
I love college softball on TV.
Yes,
I think it's exciting.
So
It's so fast compared to like me sitting at an 8U baseball tournament all weekend. I'm like, ooh, this is a little more exciting.
I do like it when I watch it. I have not watched much of it recently. So
great game to watch. Tennessee and UCLA the other day. Oklahoma played last night. They're just barn burners. If you're out there, just take a peek.
Give it a shot.
Give it a shot. All right, let's get into it because then we got to hit the road. You ready? The 5 most important foundational steps in a financial plan.
Tell me about those.
Well, I'm going to let you guys tell me about it, but I think most people think when they hear financial plan, they think investing. Would you agree? Like they think,
yeah.
And I think it's more than that. I think it's the stability of having a plan on these 5. So we're going to go through these 5 steps, and we feel like if you lay this foundation, these 5 steps, you will have a successful foundation.
Yeah. So when they're talking to us, they, when a new person comes in and we're talking about financial planning, I think they almost automatically go like, okay, some people say I don't have money into it.
They relate it to investing always first.
Right.
That's always that's
a part of it. Obviously, we want to get you to a point where you can invest, but these are not all going to deal with investing in general. But why don't you start us off, Baileigh?
All right, the number one staple of any foundation of a financial plan is your emergency fund, and I think that's very basic, but very underlooked, overestimated, just the safety of having one.
I think we're not doing our job as advisors if we don't ask a prospect or a new client or someone that's asking for advice to, like, first and foremost, do you have an emergency savings or an emergency fund of some sort? And what that means, and that can be different to each person what that is, but in general, I would consider it 3 to 6 months to 9, maybe up to 9 months of ready available cash, whether it's in money market or savings account.
Not investment.
Yep, not invested. It's easily accessible, so if something happens, hence emergency. And generally what it is, you take your, take your monthly bills. What is my overhead that I know I have to have every single month to live?
Walls, yep.
Your mortgage, your food to pay, it might be childcare, whatever it is, gas. Yeah, you take that and take it times 3, 6, 9, however many months you want. I think a lot of people fall in that 3 to 6 month range. And generally, that's always one of the very first check marks I think that we go through as advisors, saying, hey, do you have this first?
A lot of times the question that I ask people, Kole probably asks it a different way, but I'd say, what do you have in your checking and savings? Like, I want to know what you have in your checking. Some people don't love having that conversation with us, but I need to know, because I'm not going to have you invest $500 a month in a Roth IRA if you have no money in checking and savings for emergencies, because then what's going to happen when you have an emergency? You're going to turn around and take it out of the Roth IRA, and then you're going to pay taxes, penalties. It's counteractive. So that's why we're asking that question. So when a financial advisor asks you that, please make sure you are honest with them and tell them what you have there, because the stat from Bankrate, I thought, Baileigh, this was a great stat that you put on here. Only 41% of U.S. adults would use savings if they had an unexpected $1,000 emergency. That blows my mind.
So that means
they would have to use credit cards.
Yeah, 59% are going to use credit cards, borrow, or
take it out of their Roth IRA, take it out for something where they can't just take it out of a liquid account. So to me, that is absolutely crazy. I mean, minimum you should have in checking and savings at all times is $5,000 to $10,000 for these emergencies. But I agree with Kole. 3 months of your basic expenses is kind of minimum to have liquid at all times.
And I feel like obviously, let's do a little baseball analogy here. Life is going to throw you curveballs. This piece of the foundation makes those hiccups versus crises. That's like exactly, you want to move from a place of security versus a place of, oh no, I got this emergency. Where should I pull the cash? It's like, okay, the car broke down. We have this in place. Let's continue on with the plan. And that's why it keeps it on such a foundational level.
I just had a client that came in that she had an accident and is going to go through some life changes. And it was so awesome to, not that obviously wasn't awesome, but it was awesome to talk with her about, okay, how are we going to go about this? You've prepared for this. We've prepared for this. You have money in a non-qualified account. You have money in checking and savings. Like, we're going to be okay because you guys have prepared for the unexpected, because you don't think at, age 43 that things like this are going to happen, but they do.
Yeah, life's always going to happen.
You want to handle those issues or curveballs from a position of power, right?
Yes.
You're already like, hey, I've done this plan for this. And, I would say two quick tips on this. If you're someone that you don't have an emergency fund, right? Don't try to get it done all overnight, right? It's not going to happen. If you don't have one currently, you're probably not going to be able to save 1 month and have your, savings, emergency savings fund. Start with a small goal. Maybe it's $1,000 or whatever it might be. Other tip would be make it systematic, right? Less just like you pay your cell phone bill. Everyone knows how to pay their cell, or they make it a priority.
Yes,
right? Because everyone needs their darn cell phone, or they want it, right? So by golly, that bill is probably getting paid. You should be doing the same for yourself, paying yourself.
Pay yourself first.
$25 a week or $50 a week, whatever it is, until you get to that goal. And then at that time, hey, I've got 6 months worth of my emergency savings. Now I can go and fund Cole's Roth IRA or whatever it might be.
And this kind of pivots to number 2 in a foundational plan is staple number 2, a budget that works. So budget that amount into your plan that you need to get that emergency fund to. So every month, $500 budget line item, emergency fund, until you get it to that 3 to 6 months. So purpose of a budget, why is it important?
I took our last podcast that I did with you, Baileigh, and I actually started doing this.
Do you feel so much better?
I actually do.
Yeah, let's.
I have been writing down every expense, whether it went on a credit card, whether it came on our checking account, with anything. Wow. We have 4 kids. Yeah. We have a mortgage. We got a lot going on, so there's a lot of tracking, and it does take a little bit of my time in the morning, but I do it right away in the morning, and then it's done for the day. So, yeah. It helps you feel better about knowing where you're at financially at the end of the month.
Yeah, because it ensures your money is directed towards savings, debt, priorities, whatever. Your budget doesn't look like my budget, doesn't have to, but it's a foundation of here's the money coming in, here's the money going out. That's all it is.
Well, you can also see like, okay, we put on here 20% should be to savings and debt, right? Mm-hmm. Well, how do you figure out if 20% of your income is going to savings and debt if you're not tracking it? So you've got to track some things. You don't have to do what I'm doing and write down every expense, but I'm doing it just because it's a good practice for me and my family. So I'm doing that, but you don't have to write down every expense, but you need to keep track of where you're at month to month for at least a time period until you feel good about your budget.
I think what makes a lot of sense to at least putting something on paper or formalizing it a little bit is you can see trends too.
Yes.
Right? And that's one thing that's hard. Like, I think a lot of people, they compound slowly to poor decisions, right? Where maybe incomes they got to raise, right? I had this happen kind of like post-COVID. Think of like there was a lot of money given out. People were maybe spending a little less on outside because they couldn't go to restaurants. They couldn't do this. And maybe they bought an extra boat or have an extra payment. And now we've seen things, maybe inflation in the last couple of years tighten up. And now people are a little overextended. If you were doing your budget, you would have kind of noticed those trends.
You'd have been aware.
Hey, income really didn't go up much, or it did, but we just spent more. And we actually spent more than our income went up. And that's not a good trend that you want to go down. You'll start to all of a sudden now you're short funds and you're like, well, where's all the money going? And it's a small compounding effect of all those, small errors that you made.
And I just think about how fast we live in society in today's world. without a budget, like you go to a baseball game for the weekend and then all of a sudden you have a trip like things. I forgot to meal prep, so I've been eating out. We live as a society so quickly, so if you're not tracking the expenses, they can add up so quickly.
Or Kale needs a new bat for baseball. And I'm like, oh yeah, sure, let's just buy it at Shields while I'm bored.
Can we get back to the days, and I was arguing with Luke about this, can we all share a bat for kids? I get like you lose your pop. I get it.
We've already talked about this as a coaching staff. We're buying a couple bats next year.
Thank you. I'm like,
I don't understand why they all have their own bats.
It's pointless.
It's bad parenting.
And they all grow out at our age, what age our kids are.
They practice together.
And they have 1 year with a lot of their stuff, and it's done.
Don't get me started. But again.
Hey, let's get back, because I had a thought on.
Yeah, go for it.
Providing peace of mind. A comment that I hear from it's kind of a common thing that people say is, I'm not good with money. Mm-hmm. I'm not good with money, or I'm not sure. I'm not sure where the money goes. Well, you can not be good with money and do a budget.
Yes.
It just takes effort. So you got to put in the effort to actually do the budget. And another thing that I think is a good tip for someone is, if you are having trouble with money, take cash out of your checking account, $100 every month, or whatever you fit into your budget, $50 a week or whatever it is, and use cash. And don't you put those credit cards away.
Yeah.
And that's your spending money.
Cash is gone.
Yes.
When the cash is gone, you don't go out to eat anymore. You don't get the coffee at Starbucks anymore. If that cash is gone for the month, then you're done.
Love that.
And then wait till the first or whenever you get paid next. That is a tip that I've used on myself in the past, using cash.
Absolutely.
People are so non-cashless now, but everywhere will take cash typically, except Wrigley Field.
There is a lot of statistics too. People with credit cards, how quick and easy it is to spend versus cash when you're physically holding the
psychology
cash you've
of
earned,
it for sure.
Like giving it away, you're like, but a card, I'll handle this later. So
I can tell you, if you're tracking it, you're less likely to slide your card as well, because I think I've caught myself on that a couple of times.
Include the savings, include the emergency fund, schedule it monthly. It's a plus minus system, guys. We're looking at what you're netting in after taxes, what you're bringing in after taxes, we're minusing what we're spending. So regularly review it. And it's like, we got the emergency foundation, we got the budget, and now we get to our favorite part, the investment strategy.
So now we get to the fun stuff. Is okay. Now we can invest, right? But we have to have the first two, the emergency fund and the budget, to know how much we can invest. Because if you just blind invest, $500 a month, well, we don't know if that fits into your budget or not. You don't want to have to be making adjustments to that, and you want to commit to it, right? Mm-hmm. Cole, I mean, we want people to periodically invest.
It's
every month.
It's
the
thoughtless.
consistency
You don't
that
even
matters.
think about it. It comes out the same day. It goes in the same day. Like, it's a part of my life. Like, every 15th of the month, boom, it's out. I don't even know it came in.
And we take this for granted. We just assume, like, when we say invest, and like really what that means is hey, we're trying to have our money work for us, grow, right? And the goal really, first and foremost, you want your dollar to outpace inflation. Right. Yep. So if inflation is 3%, that's kind of average number. If you're just putting it in a bank account and you're not making anything, you're saving, all your savings is saving. Now, we still are proud of you for saving, but if you're only making 1% and it's costing you 3% more every year, you're losing 2% in the long run, right? For how far your dollar can go. So that's why we talk about, hey, paying yourself. This is paying yourself first now.
I remember being so young. I literally remember this. I had a thought. I'm like, gosh, how do people with money have money? They just must have like a huge income. Like, I remember being really young and thinking that and be like, where do they get all this money? Like, how do they afford? But I'm like, like as you get older, you're like, let your money do the work. And I think people don't realize, like, your money's not working for you past that emergency fund. What we're working with investing is growth, long-term growth. How do we retire? How do we compound our money? How do we get to the end line where we can live the way we want to live?
And we're a resource for you, obviously. We can help you with this. But there's also resources out there. And I'll go back to a small story, and I don't know if I've ever told you guys this, but when I first started at Principal Financial
Love
Group,
stories.
Me too.
I had never had a 401k before. I was out of college. I was in the golf business. They didn't offer 401k.
You weren't making much money in the golf.
A lot of money. Yeah,
That's probably not a lot. The entry level to golf, 401k is probably not top priority list.
My first job out of college, I made $21,000 a year. So yes, I wasn't making a lot of money. But when I got to Principal, I still wasn't making a lot of money.
It was a long time ago though. So 20. No, I'm just.
But I was offered a 401k. And you signed in principle, you were eligible for the 401k right away. I mean, first day I was eligible. So I read an article online because I'd never had a 401k. I didn't know what to do. The article I read said you do whatever they will match the match what we tell people, and it was you put in 8%, they put in 6%.
Okay, principal.
Right. It was a good match, right?
It was.
So I had this conversation with my wife, and she's like, you're going to put in 8% of your, and I said, well, this article I read said you should do that. And then I showed it to her, and she was like, well, I guess you should do that. So
you're like, thank you.
The resources are out there for you to figure this stuff out. Of course, you can always ask us the questions, but if you do simple Googler searches, you can find this stuff out, and you can fit this money before Google. Google's around 2006, but
it probably wasn't as easy to function.
There wasn't AI just giving you exactly what to do step by step.
Right.
But I remember my first 401k at my first job in Des Moines that offered me a 401k. We were blessed. They were a great company. They were very investing into the quality of their people's life. So they had people come in from the company that was running the 401k, educate us. How much should you put away? What's investing? I remember, I'll never forget, the guy's like, do this Roth thing. It's this was a while ago. And I was like, okay, Roth.
That's stuck.
It's stuck. Yeah, it's never left my brain, obviously. But you know what I mean? We have 401k plans we manage. We really try to educate people. But just remember, let's get the foundation first. Let's have it. If you're $60,000 in debt and you're scraping by, don't be in, you know what I mean? You
shouldn't be. You should maybe be just putting in minimum in your 401k, but other than that, you should be addressing the debt.
And that's why these foundational pieces all come into play together. You have the emergency fund, you have the budget, and now we're budgeting and putting that into our investing strategy.
401k, Roth IRA, traditional IRA, whatever bucket you're saving, that's probably your first step of investing. Yes. Once you've, did have your emergency fund, you've created your budget. One of those three, just depending on where you work and what's available to you, is probably your first entry level if you do not have anything at that point. And please educate yourself and take advantage of whatever's available to you.
Consistency with investing. That would be I would think the number one word anyone could
probably most of this stuff, honestly. Consistency is such a word, budgeting, being consistent on that.
Yes.
You're whether you have your emergency savings or you're building for it, you need to be consistent on what you're doing.
Yep.
Well, this client that I talked about earlier, that 43 had an accident, her husband had put $100 a month into a non-qualified account since he was 25. I mean, just
systematically.
Systematically, never thought about it. Just put it in mutual funds, put it in there. I mean, that's what they have now. I'm not going to give them amounts, but it's $100 a month can go a long ways over 20 years.
Absolutely.
I mean, it really can.
For as complex as the world can be, boring and simple in this world can also be very, very valuable, especially if you have time.
This podcast is produced by Spin Market and Digital. Located in Fort Dodge, Iowa, Spin Market's highly skilled team can help you increase your market by updating your website, improving SEO, designing advertisements, and producing podcasts that will grab the attention of your market. Contact Spin Market today for all your digital marketing needs at digitalagent@spinmarket.com or call us at 515-302-8026. And to learn more, visit our website at www.spinmarket.com. That's digitalagent@spinmarket.com or 515-302-8026. Or visit our website at www.spinmarket.com.
Let's do a little dollars and cents.
Dollar bills, y'all.
The stat nerd's back.
We're back with our survey stats. This survey came from Business Wire, and I really thought this tailored into what we're talking today. But 83% of people that set financial goals feel better about their finances just 1 year after that. So doesn't mean you accomplish the goals. You're just setting some, just like Kole doing the budget, writing it on paper, or anyone doing that. You visualize it, and 83% of the respondents said they feel better 1 year. And it didn't say the outcomes of what it was. As all was is they were in a better place or felt happier about the results.
I think you always feel better when you confront what's bothering you. So confronting your financial, whether it be it's not even have to be a mess. Just looking at, okay, what do I have? What do I owe? Where are we going?
hopefully, if anything, it gives you some confidence and motivation.
Yeah.
Right.
Write it down.
I mean, that's
Take an hour of your day.
Worst case scenario. Not even. Right.
Yeah.
I
mean,
takes
honestly,
20 minutes of my day.
a lot of this stuff with how technology too, how quick you can compile stuff.
All available online. I've been doing it for 2 months, and I can tell you I already feel better about it.
I think
intentionality.
Most people is more of there's a lot of money shame, right?
Yes.
And we play the comparison game, and that's one thing I think if we can do our part of like, hey, not everyone's got $10 million. We understand that. I work with people that got starting with $50 up to 10 million. Like it's one of those, like you got to start somewhere. And if you want to have a better financial life, I mean, unfortunately that's going to be recognition is the first step.
And also I feel like a lot of people are like, I don't know that world. I don't understand anything about it. I don't understand. You don't need to understand investing. You just need a plus and minus and then go to someone that can help you do the rest. You know what I mean? You just need to know where's your money going.
Everyone knows if your bank account's negative or positive, right?
Yeah. There's no secret
your
sauce
first step.
to that. So, all right, let's go to staple 4. I know some people maybe don't get as excited about this, but this is really so important to show love in advance for the people you care about in your life, and that's insurance and estate planning. I think this gets so underlooked. I think it's a skip people like to step by because you can go on without it, but this is really, think about how much time you spend planning your kid's birthday, planning an event, planning a vacation. This is like planning for your family's worst case scenario or just mishap.
It's really thinking beyond yourself.
Yes.
Is really what it is. This is for if something happens to you or if you're the primary earner of your family or whatever it might be. It's really, what if something happens to you? What do I want? Where do I want my, do I want my family to be taken care of? Or what do I want to happen to my assets?
Yes.
I consider this part of almost number 3 as well, because it's an investment.
Yeah.
To me, a term life insurance payment is not just throwing money away. It is an investment. It's an investment in the oh crap
the worst
situation.
Case scenario.
Worst case scenario. So to me, it seems like it's almost I get why we broke it out, but I'm just saying like it should be figured in there just like an investment because you're preparing for the unforeseen things. And unfortunately, as financial advisors, we see these things come to fruition sometimes where people did prepare and where people didn't prepare. And obviously the ones that did prepare, the situation seems to make it never makes it better. Obviously when someone passes away or gets disabled, but it does definitely help.
Well, I just think I could even put myself in that shoes. If something happened to Luke, I'm not going to want to be showing up to work for a little bit. You know what I mean? You're going to be grieving. You're going to be dealing stuff. Our income's going to drastically change. Like life is changing. It's already hard enough. That's just like a buffer of like, okay, I don't have to grieve the financial burden right now. I can just grieve what happened.
That's an exercise. I think, unfortunately, if you have a family, it's an unfortunate exercise, but I think it's a necessary one that you say, okay, two things you think about. One is the emotional side, right? Okay, I just lost my spouse, right? That's a whole big piece of it. It's like, what's going to happen emotionally? I'm probably not going to go to work. I'm, whatever it might be for a while anyways. Number 2 is the financial side, right? Okay, realistically, we take, $150,000 salary away today. How does that look, right?
And think you got to repeat that income over the next how many years by yourself.
And I think when someone does that exercise, they're like, okay, there is definitely a need, or this is something I really need to have a conversation on. Now, if you have oodles of assets, maybe you're self-insured, but very rarely are we coming across someone that's that way.
It's so affordable too. And and then to get insurance before you can't get insurance, there's sometimes people like, oh, I'll just do it, in 5-10 years. Then you have a health complication, then you're not insurable. It's just really putting that in place and saying, hey, I love the people. Worst case scenario, I want to protect you, and I want to protect the budget we've been working on. I want to be able to keep doing what we're doing for our financial plan.
I thought this was a crazy stat that you put on our sheet here. Only 52% of Americans actually have life insurance. That's wild.
Yes.
Did you think that was higher or lower?
I thought it would be much higher because people have work policies, but a lot of people don't have work policies if you're self-employed. And
I just want to say this group work policies are great, and I hear that a lot. Oh, I have insurance.
I have it through work.
If it's 50,000, that's not being insured. If you're what I mean? Like, know what you need to replace. I would say 10 years of replaceable income is a good way to look at it. Like, how long would my spouse live without me? What would their life look like for the next 10 years? If I could just replace my income.
Depending on your age, I think another good exercise, add your debts.
Yep.
And add your income replacement on for each spouse for however many years you want. And I always kind of use the youngest child getting to age 18 is what I'll just kind of default. So if your youngest child's 10, you make $80,000 a year. That's 8 years, That's how you would back into that. And I have $300,000 of debt. That's kind of as simple. It's obviously much more complex than that. But if you're like just thinking right off the top of your head, how much insurance should someone have? That's an easy exercise to back into.
And we've been talking about budget, and Baileigh brought this up. Affordability is probably the number one thing that people get wrong in this situation. You have on here that many overestimate the cost of 3 times of what the insurance policy is actually going to cost them. Had this conversation with someone just the other day, a $500,000 policy. You have it on here, $26 a month.
That's Stella's for us in a week.
I mean,
Stella's shout out.
One meal. That's one
Yeah,
meal.
that's what I'm saying. It's
for $500,000 if something were to happen.
Worst
to you.
case scenario.
when
right?
people say
Yep.
I can't afford it, you really can't afford not to have it. You really can't.
Yep.
And another thing, estate planning, wills, power of attorneys. There is nothing worse than we have people come in. They don't have access. They don't know what's going on. They don't know where stuff is. It's just part of the boring planning process of, hey, here's what I have. Here's what's going to happen to
The
it.
more experience I get in our industry, the more and more I'm like, I talk about this because I've seen it. I'm starting to have conversations, seems like once a month, where there was something they wanted differently, or hey, they're really concerned with. And I'm like, hey, if you need to have this documented in your estate plan or will or trust or whatever it might be. But this is very, very important. And even for younger, some people are like, well, I don't have anything, just kids and debt. You're like,
I think that's the big. Who do you want to have
Exactly,
your
right?
kids if something happens? Do you want family arguing of who's taking responsibility
Exactly.
and who's controlling the money that they're going to get someday?
Yep.
A will. Everyone should have a will.
Agreed.
Everyone should have a power of attorney if needed. Up-to-date beneficiaries. Go into your 401k once a year. Every meeting we have, I'm like, are your beneficiaries the way you want them to be? The only people on 401ks have like a ex-spouse or
A lot.
Yeah.
Or nothing. We have a lot of.
Nothing.
We run quite a few 401k plans and have a lot of participants. And I would guess, probably 20% of our participants don't have beneficiaries, and we're actively always saying, hey, get a beneficiary added, get someone added, at least, a sister, a spouse, a child, whatever it is, get someone listed on that account.
Yeah, when I look at someone's 401k with them, that's so I'll obviously go to the investments, what they're contributing to, but I always go to the beneficiary section and at least make sure they have somebody listed, and tell them who it is, and
Sometimes
say,
like,
you need to update that.
It's still them.
But I just think this part of your financial plan, right? We have the emergency fund, we're budgeting, we're investing, we're protecting everything we're working so hard for. And this is really more of like, hey, I love the people that are going to handle this when I'm gone. Here's how I want it to go. And here's some insurance to cover anything.
There you go.
Okay. The last staple. What is it, guys?
Long-term plan.
What does that mean? Break that down.
Yeah, I would say, long term, like in our world, would be anything above 5 to 7 years. I would say, kind of rewinding or circling back. It really goes in stages when you go to your goals and plans. Is you got your short term 1 to 3 years. That's your vacation, emergency fund, paying off debt. Your midterm goals, that would be 3 to 7 years. Yeah, new house, or maybe
kids college,
education. Maybe a down payment for a bigger expense.
Maybe Cubs season tickets. You never know.
It's true.
But long term is we're looking at retirement, legacy. Like, what do we want retirement to look at? How much money do we want to have at whenever we want to retire? It's the long term foundation of like, here's where we're going, and this is why we're doing these little things consistently.
I think this really piggies back on what we're harping a lot is like, hey, we don't always start with these long-term goals when we're talking to someone, but we do want to back into them of like, so there is a why.
Yes.
Why are we saving? What do you mean, Cole? I got to save $500 in my Roth IRA. Why am I doing that? Well, hey, we want some tax-free income at, you told me you wanted to retire at 55. Well, if we don't want to pay taxes on everything, we want some of that income to come tax-free, and we need to save it now. Otherwise, we can't do it based on the income that you want to have. And that's really what it is long term. Is kind of putting all the, steps 1 through 4 we talked about, kind of compounding to that bigger picture item.
I would say this is where working with an advisor, all these steps working with an advisor is very important, but this is where you guys thrive. It's like the nitty gritty, like where accounts are we going to pull off? What investments are we using at this stage in retirement? How much do we need to allocate here? Do we need to You know what I mean? It's really like, here's your net worth. Here's where we're going to pull this money when you're 63 and you want a car in retirement. Like, it's like, where's the money going and where's it going to come from? And it's all the little things, and life changes. So the plan consistently changes, and working with someone to kind of guide you through those changes.
This is why I create retirement plans for clients that are 25. Yes, I know they're not retiring for 30 to 40 years, whether they're retiring at 55, like Kole said, or 65. But also, we've got to look long term, because we got to know, hey, are we on track to be able to do what you want to do? Mm-hmm. And it's kind of fun to see that money too, if they're putting it away, what it accumulates to.
The compounding effect. When you can illustrate compounding.
I feel like you can visually see then, like, okay, this is why I'm doing all this work. This is why I'm taking a little bit of time to do a budget. This is why I pay that insurance every year, because you're seeing like, okay, here's where I'm going to be.
It's a way to illustrate delayed gratification.
Yes.
Right. I know that's we're in an instant. I always talk about that instant gratification of like, but we are in instant. Like, what can you do for me right now versus financial plan is really, it's a long-term thing, budgeting, all this, getting to that point, but it's a way to illustrate it. And are we going to be able to do this, or do we need to maybe change our expectations?
Yes.
Right? Yep.
And I think, again, it's knowing the why. Like, I'm saving this because I want my kids to start off debt-free after college, or I want to take a vacation every year. And vacation, I bet this is the number one thing I hear when we have older people come in, and I know you've heard this because I've been in meetings with so many times. I wish I would have just started sooner. I wish I would have came in sooner. I wish we would have made a plan sooner. There is no better day than today to do all of these 5 steps. And they're not going to happen all at once. Pick one. Pick your emergency fund. Then get to your budget. You know what I mean? Start building these things, foundations in your life, because really it's not about, I think people think these are like all about being rich. Yeah. This is about a life of options. This is about a life of ease. This is about, these steps will get you a life of like creating, okay, I'm not stressed because I'm not living paycheck to paycheck, or I don't have to keep up with the Jones because I know where I'm going and I don't need to drive that car because I have other goals. Like, it's just the ease of knowing where you're going. It's putting on the seatbelt before you get in the car. This is what these 5 steps are.
Yeah, you don't have to have $1 million to come meet with a financial advisor, and we can take some of this off of your plate. So, because we do this all the time, right? So if somebody got these 5 staples and they try to do it themselves, it might be a little overwhelming to do it yourself, right? So we can help you with these, and we can try to work with your what your costs are as far as our services, until you get to a point where it is making more sense to invest more or do more of the life insurance or the estate planning or whatnot. So we will work with you and try to we try to start small with people that want to start small. But I agree with you, and I wanted to go back to, like, we have had, especially lately, I don't know why, but in the last 2 years, we've had people that will come in and be like, man, I wish I would have came to you 5 years ago.
Yes,
my life would have. I've been thinking about this for 5 years, and I meant to go to a financial. I just didn't.
Or an event, or a life event happens, right? Yeah. They lose someone or something, like, gosh, I wish I would have just had this conversation before.
Or they're 3 months before retirement and they got their pension packet. That's usually sometimes when they come to us. It is.
We all have those like stories, right? And you're
right.
Like,
it's like, well, are you sure? Like, will you want to retire? Yes. Like, well, the 30 days are already in. I mean, teachers have to put their IPERS thing in December. I mean, they do. So I've had people come to me and they already said, well, I've already committed. I'm done. Okay, well, we'll try to make your retirement plan on the retro, but at the same time, that might have not been what I would have done. But.
And I just think financial chaos leads to decision fatigue, like the decision of starting, the decision to game plan, where the foundation leads to freedom. It's being able to say yes to the things you want to be able to say yes to long term.
It really does. So thank you all for listening. Remember to like, subscribe, share this with your people. We want to get the word out about the podcast, not to all those that are listening, but also to people that are not listening.
Yeah, liking, subscribing, sharing is the best way to get a foundational plan for someone you love out there. Get them that information. So we appreciate everyone listening. And in honor of softball, Jenny Finch, you can't always control the circumstances, only how you react to those circumstances. You can always control your attitude and your effort.
Go Cubs.
You've been listening to How to Money with Kole and Kole, the podcast of Full Swing Financial Planning. To learn more, visit their website at www.fullswingfinancial.com and follow them on Facebook and LinkedIn.
For now, I'm Kole.
I'm Baileigh.
And I'm Kole.
And we'll see you on the greens. 4
Security and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor. Member FINRA SIPC.